Hello and welcome to today's European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure Community webinar. My name is Ella and I'm delighted to be joined by Douglas, who'll be talking to you about strategies for implementing DevOps culture in Power Platform solutions. Remember to join the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC22. Don't forget to check out the Resource Centre. The Resource Centre is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. Join us next week for migrating enterprise applications to Azure Cloud Native. Find out more at sharepointeurope.com/register for webinars. Yesterday, we revealed the final tutorial for the European Power Platform Conference, taking place the 6th to 8th of April in Berlin. Chris Huntingford will deliver a tutorial on Power Platform governance for Dataverse. There will be lots of presentations, hands-on labs, and use cases. Find out more at sharepointeurope.com/Power Platform tutorials. We'd also like to thank our webinar sponsors, Docs42 and Pointfire.
Hey you! In the session you will see all about the great options of the Microsoft technologies. But what about generating documents in the Microsoft ecosystem? Like quotes, reports, emails, PowerPoints, and others. The challenges usually are many different data sources, an intuitive design in Microsoft Office, and of course generating the documents where the user needs them, in SharePoint, the Power Platform, Teams, or Dynamics. Docs42 can do all of it. Try now yourself.
Hi, I'm Martin from Pointfire. This year I was hoping to entice you with a booth, games, prizes, giveaways.
Instead, we have this short video to show you how we make the multilingual page publishing feature even better. It's so easy, the demo only takes a few seconds.
With SharePoint's new feature, your staff still has to translate each page manually. By adding the Pointfire translator, the pages get translated automatically for your approval. Go to try.pointfire.com for a free trial or contact us for a demo.
And after the webinar, we'll have a question and answers session. Type any question you may have into the question window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and you'll be notified by email once it is available. And now I'd like to pass you over to Douglas to deliver his great webinar this morning. Good morning, Douglas, or good afternoon.
Thank you, Ella. So let's talk about strategies for DevOps on Power Platform solutions. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you all for participating. Hopefully this will be a discussion, so feel free to speak in the chat. I would like to kind of bring some thoughts, some of my experience on that, but of course you have your own scenarios, you have your own experience, and it will be pretty good if we can exchange this kind of knowledge. So to begin with, my name is Douglas Romão. I am from Brazil, but working for Denmark now. So I work as a solution architect in Fellowmine, Denmark. I'm an MVP in Office apps and services and also in business applications. Feel free to reach me out. I have this link and the QR code where you can find me. There, I have a YouTube channel that it's in Portuguese if you like to learn a bit of Portuguese with some content in Power Platform and SharePoint. And yeah, feel free to reach me out. I think it would be pretty good to have this exchange in LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever. Feel free to reach me out. Okay, nice. So this will be the agenda. I would like to talk to you what and why we should think about these DevOps strategies or culture when we are talking about Power Platform solutions, and why this is so important for us. And I'll try to bring some of the experience and also the scenarios that I'm facing in Europe, but also the scenarios that I'm facing in Brazil, because we can have this I think we have these different ways of thinking, and it will be good to share these things. What usually happens, what usually I'm facing, and what usually customers are facing since the beginning of the Power Platform, and of course, I'm talking more regarding the Power Platform that it's the way that we see today with the Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, Power BI also. But also we have some legacy things, or not legacy, but some things that becomes from the beginning, that it's the dynamics part of it. So what usually we are facing, some different possibilities, some tools, and how we can start with that if we don't have anything at all, or if we already have some intermediate scenarios or advanced scenarios, how we can come up with different solutions. And then afterwards, I will do a demo and a wrap up on that. Okay, so of course the demo will be thinking about one specific scenario, but also I would like to share some of the other ones as well. Okay, so we'll be first a little bit theory, then we go to the practicalities. Okay. What and why should I consider this topic? So DevOps, if you are not familiar with the term, maybe you are already, but just to have everyone in the same level. And of course, I'm doing just a basic statement, but DevOps, it's a way of controlling the life cycle of a solution or a software. So it's the way that we think about building it, testing it, deploying it, and this infinite loop will take over. So we have a bunch of images in the internet showing some of this cycle, but basically the DevOps is the way that we control the whole cycle, not only thinking about the development part, not only thinking about the infrastructure part, but also thinking about the whole cycle, where we control the requirements, we control what we are building, we control what we are testing, we control what we are deploying in different environments, and after that, this cycle that keeps going. Okay, so DevOps is pretty important because it's the way that the solutions are becoming more and more advanced, are becoming more and more, let's say, not only in the IT or the developer hands anymore. So we are giving these solutions more and more for the business. So implementing these DevOps strategies or processes, it's a good way where we can make sure that the quality and the maintainability and the governance, everything is in place. So some of the benefits of having DevOps strategies in place is that we can improve governance. So we make sure that the people who are working with this, the things that we need or that we want them to work inside our organizations. So we make sure that IT is handling everything and we are not creating shadow IT. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with these terms, but shadow IT is a way that pretty much that people that are working with Excel spreadsheets and they start building systems and the IT doesn't know that these systems are there. These kind of things are shadow IT things. So we need to make sure that we are improving the governance more and more, because we are giving the business a way to develop things. So if we don't have a place where the governance is handling it, it can become chaotic. One other thing is to maintain code versioning. So this is a pretty important topic as well, because we are delivering a lot of features, new solutions, new apps, new flows and everything. And we need to make sure that we are maintaining the versioning of it. Okay. This automatic distribution through different environments. If you are part of a huge organization, you probably have multiple environments. If you are not, or if your company is not that advanced yet, you probably have just one environment, and maybe this distribution between these environments to make sure that we have dev, we have test, we have production, And we have these environments working together and making sure that you have the versioning in the right places and you are maintaining these environments. It can be chaotic as well. So we can have this automatic distribution if we use a DevOps process. Of course, we can start from scratch with some manual steps, manual things, and then we can become more and more automatic, or we can build some automations on top of it. Then ensure maintainability and also quality. This is an important matter because I would say maintainability is probably the worst part, because if we start just giving to the business part a way for them to deliver things, to start developing things, and they start looking at the videos at YouTube and start building things without these concerns that we want them to have, the maintainability could be a pain for the IT, for the infrastructure, for the organization itself. So we need to make sure that we ensure this maintainability and also quality, and improve collaboration between teams. Since we are talking about DevOps, we are talking about collaboration between pro developers. Now we have the citizen developers, the business consultants, the business part that we are giving them tools to develop things, and also the operation team or the IT infrastructure, the guys that will maintain these applications or these environments. So if we have the DevOps process in place, we make sure that these processes are working the way that they should be, and the teams are collaborating each other, and they are working together to have a good solution. So yeah, I could stay the whole day talking about benefits of having DevOps process, even though it's not automatic process, but if we have this process in place and why you should have it, it's just a few benefits of it, okay? So you agree with me that it's pretty important, right? Okay, so what usually happens? I would like to talk a bit about some scenarios that I faced it already here in Brazil, and maybe you guys already face it as well, and some scenarios that we probably will face while we are implementing more and more solutions like that. So common scenarios. This is the first thing, was something that I saw a lot here in Brazil. And I'm not happy saying that, but I must say, just start doing things, since it's all about app development, right? So this is a statement that I took because usually people are just looking for new ways of having their work faster or better. So they start doing things because they saw something in the internet, and now we have a lot of, in LinkedIn, you can have a lot of people saying that they just built some cool stuff using Power Apps or Power Automate or Power Virtual Agents because they have these, they saw this video or participated in this event or whatever, and they just, now they are just start doing because they have the trial license. They just push a button called trial, give me the trial now, and they start doing things on our environments. And this was pretty hard in the beginning here in Brazil, at least, where the IT didn't even know that the Power Platform was there and that the users could just click a button to have the trial version of it. And they now decided or saw that they had like 300 apps without like anyone knowing it. So this is a pretty common scenario. I don't know in Europe how it is like that, but in Brazil it happened a lot, and I think it's still happening because a lot of organizations doesn't know that this Power Platform is available for Microsoft 365 licenses. They don't know about licensing models, so premium and not non-premium connectors. They don't know about connectors. They don't know that now the business could just potentially create multiple applications exchanging data and things like that. So this is a pretty common scenario. We just start doing things because I just saw cool stuff in LinkedIn or whatever, and then yeah, I can. Why not? I'm not a IT guy. Why not just developing things? Because basically Microsoft is saying that everyone can now build things, and this is true, but it's also true that we need to take care of it. We need to make sure that it's compliant, it's in a governance place, and we or make sure that this is not something that it's doing behind the scenes. We need to make sure that it is in place. There's a governance in place. Okay, so this one is I think was the more painful, I think. Second one, a lot of manual work and nothing validating, versioning, or testing it. So another common scenario is, okay, I have environments, so good. Now we have different environments. I have dev, I have test, I have production, or I just have dev and production, whatever. But I have still a lot of manual work, because when I do something, I need to export my app, I need to export my flow, I need to export my solution. I need to move them manually from one environment to the other. So this is a pretty common scenario. Actually, I saw a lot of people that just start building things and they don't even know that solution works and how solution works. They just start doing apps outside the solutions, and they are just start doing flows outside solutions and the other components. And then, yeah, okay, how can I move from one environment to the other? I need to export and then import again, and do all the configurations again. So this a lot of manual work is something that it's happening a lot. And another thing is, since we have this manual work behind the scenes and we are doing a lot of things without thinking, I just have a lot of personal and orphan apps and flows running enterprise process. So I have a customer that I can give you an example, a big customer here in Brazil. He's working with paper, basically, their category, and they had these 300 apps that they just discovered because someone was an owner of an app and few flows, and this person was fired, so everything breaks or broke at that moment. And then, yeah, the IT didn't know that this application was there, and this application was pretty high on the heavily used internally. So this become a problem, because since we have persons that are just creating apps, creating flows, without knowing that we have solutions, we have a governance in place. I'm just creating things in my name, and I have these. Of course, we now have more tools that can say to us that we have orphan apps or personal apps, but also it's something that costs a lot for the IT to manage. So this is pretty common as well. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we need to consider when we are talking about these kind of things, because these scenarios are pretty standard. I'm facing it a lot, and we need to start thinking how can we become more and more advanced when it comes to these governance and solutions and scenarios. Okay, and it's not hard to implement these kind of things. So let's talk about different possibilities, because we have a lot of different possibilities. But first, we need to think about some important topics. We have one is the level of automation needed. So if you don't have anything yet, maybe going too far with automation, it's something that will cost a lot for you. So let's try out some manual steps in the workflow. Let's create this process first, and then we automate as we need. If you have already more advanced scenarios, you can maybe think in this process and start automating things. So the first topic that we need to consider is, what is the level of automation that I need? I need to manage the whole thing from the scratch. When we have a project, I have to have the task, and I have, for each task, I create a solution. For each solution, I create few components, and then I merge them afterwards. This is a pretty advanced scenario. Maybe we just need to export, import solutions, and it's fine. So let's think about the level of automation that's needed. And of course, we can start with baby steps, and then we can grow and grow. Okay. Another important topic, and this is an important topic where you will decide which type of tooling you will use. So types of objects that will be handled by the process. So imagine that you have a more advanced scenario where you need to move not only, I'm talking about a lot about apps and flows, but we also have tables in Dataverse, we have relationships, we have web resources, so JavaScript, things like that. We have plugins. So we have a bunch of different components that we need to move from environment to environment, depending on how bigger are our solutions or our applications. So these type of objects are important that we understand, so we can put the right tooling in place when we are creating the process. So I will talk more about it when we talk about the tooling, but this is an important topic that you need to consider. Which type of objects you are thinking, because maybe you can decide to do less painful, let's say, or more basic or more standard process because you don't have a lot of different objects or more advanced objects. And for the other cases, you have more advanced tools. Types of connections and connectors is also something that you need to consider when we are talking about this DevOps process, because I can give you two examples. One scenario, we have Dataverse solutions. So we have Dataverse tables, we have Dataverse forms, and we have Dataverse views, and we have a model-driven app that is connected to these tables, right? This is one type of connection and one type of connector, because we are just talking about model-driven apps and Dataverse that it's pretty integrated. So if we move the tables from one environment to the other, it's fine because we are just moving the table. The Dataverse infrastructure, it's there already. But if we are talking about SharePoint connectors, for example, then it's not that easy or not that simple. We need to think more about how we can make sure that if we have a flow that it's using SharePoint in one side, we have the sites, we have the list names, things like that. And then when we move to the other environment, we need to make sure that we have the same things, we have the same connections, the same structure, so we don't break anything when we move to one to the other. So depending on the type of the connection, you decided to do maybe to use one tool or the other tool, right? So this is an important topic as well to consider. Which type of connections and connectors you have in your solution, these will kind of tell you which tool you can use. And of course, you can implement the whole thing with all different kinds of types and of connections and connectors, all types of objects, but these will be a more advanced and probably hard thing to implement. And then one other important topic is the infrastructure that you need to have in place to get more and more advanced scenarios. So if you have more advanced scenarios, it will require you more infrastructure to handle it, because we are not just talking about having a process. You have the process, you have some Azure things that you need to use, you need some scripts that you need to build. So we have this infrastructure that needs to be in place, so we make sure that we are developing the right thing, right? Okay, so these four things, yeah, let's say we have more topics that are important, but the ones that I'm thinking now, it's these four that are the more important ones. So the improvement life cycle or cycle that we have. So when we are thinking about this process, it's good to know first, know your environment, solution, and component. So if we understand correctly what is an environment, what it is solution, what it is the components that we have inside the solutions, and which type of components we use in our solutions, this is a good thing to know from the beginning. Then define your process. If it's a manual, if it's an automatic process, doesn't matter. You just need to have this process in place so you can start building it. Choose your tool set. So we will choose which tools we will use to implement these process. Since we know the environment, solution, and a component, so we know which type of objects, we know the type of connections and connectors, things like that. We know now our process because we already defined it. Then I choose which tool I will use to make this process to be more automatically or whatever. Then I automate this process because now I tested. I make sure that I know the process now. I know which tool I will use. Then I'll automate. Then I can evaluate, improve, and start over. This process is, I would say that it's pretty cyclical, I would say, because we need to do this evaluation and then we improve things, start over, and yeah, it's forever. So I would say this is the baby steps when we are talking about this process, right? And first thing first, identify your momentum. I think this is let's say, an important thing. You need to identify where are your company at the moment, so you can know if you are doing a manual process, a more automatically, an intermediate, an advanced scenario, depending on where you are. I think that the most important thing is you need to think about it and you need to start doing it. You start testing it, you start defining it. So identify your place and it's fine to start from scratch if needed. So talking about tooling, so we can go to the demo. Yeah, we have this tooling that we can implement this feature. I just highlighted these two first was because I will explain or show them. But we have today, we have a way of manually import and export a solution or an app or a flow. But I would say just the solution, I would just talk about solutions. Let's think only about solutions. So I have a way today of manually export and import this solution, and it's fine. This is the first step. Then we have the Azure DevOps pipelines. So if you have Azure DevOps today in your organization, and if you don't have, we have a way of having 5 users, I think, for free. And you can automate these things. You can have pipelines on the DevOps that will make sure that builds these things, pack these things, and move from one environment to the other automatically. Another way is to do by GitHub. It's pretty much the same way that we have in DevOps, but the DevOps is more enterprise way, because we have in the Azure DevOps, we have the other parts of Azure DevOps, like the Azure DevOps boards, for example, that we have tests and things like that. And then we can kind of combine these things. So we don't have only the pipeline, we have the pipeline to make sure that the solutions go through from one environment to the other, but also I can connect the deployments with a task that I have on my project or something like that. And then we have the Power Platform CLI. The Power Platform CLI, it's a commandlet that Microsoft created, and this is, I think it's something that you can work with if you want to collaborate, because it's an open source thing. But it's a pretty good thing that we can use to do some of the things. So depending on which scenario you have, you might use multiple of these tooling or just one of them, right? Yeah, so when we are talking about Azure DevOps pipelines, I would like to just show some of them, some of the tests or some of the things that we will use or we can use. We have the Power Platform ALM build tools. We have one tooling that it was done by Whale Hamzy. It's an MVP as well. We have another thing, another tool that it's done by Scott Duro, that it's another MVP, that is the Sparkle XRM, and we have the CLI. So these are some of the tooling, and I would like to just show you some of them. So we have the ALM build tools. We have the WhaleHMZ thing. We have the Sparkle XRM, Power Platform CLI, the PowerShell. We can use PowerShell to do things. We can use or secure our apps using Azure AD apps to not use username and password to deploy things. We can use an Azure AD app to deploy things. We can use Azure Key Vault to store secrets, app secrets and things like that. We can have YAML templates on Azure DevOps pipeline. So we can build a process that can be replicable if we need to. We can create batch scripts. So these are just few of the tools that we can use, okay? And I will show you in a demo right now some of them, right? So let's go to the demo. And before going to the demo, I just wanted to share with you, because I will share later on to Ella, so Ella can share with you guys. I just made this page in Notion so we can have some references. So you can have some links on each one of the things that or the tools that I'm talking about. So the Power Platform CLI, how to use the Sparkle XRM to deploy things on the Power Platform solutions, what it is, the Sparkle XRM, some of the tools that Microsoft provided, the link for WhaleHMZ GitHub as well. And I just put it some few steps that we have in here. So we can kind of use these in our demo process, right? So first of all, we have these defined environments. So I have two environments in here in my demo. So I have one place where it is my dev environment. So this could be a separated tenant. I could have different environments in the same tenant. So it doesn't really matter when we are doing this process. It's fine if we have different environments in different tenants. Doesn't harm in any way. So if you have, for example, that demo environments that you can build in your organization from Microsoft, I think it's demo.microsoft.com, where you can create demo environments there. You can create a demo environment, use these as a dev environment or a test environment, and then you have your own production tenant without this trash or whatever. So first of all is to define our environment. So I have two environments. I have a dev environment that is this one, and I have a production environment that it is, where is it? Let me find in here. Here is my production environment. So I have this production environment. Sorry, this is in Portuguese. My production environment it's in Portuguese, but I will translate to you. So this is environment. So I have this environment that will be our production. So I just have dev and production, right? Perfect. So I have my environments already there. Now let's create solutions. So instead of building things from here, just create an app. I would always create a solution. So let's see, demo SPC01. I'll just select a publisher. I'll create this. I already have one that it's running, just because sometimes the pipelines takes a while to run. So I'll just run one of the tests that I have already. So, okay, I have a solution now. And with this solution, we start building things. So I can start building. I can create a table. Let's wait a bit. Create a table. We'll call table 01. Right. Then we have important things that I will take afterwards, that it's kind of, okay, should we use managed solution, unmanaged solutions, these kind of things we can take afterwards. So I have a table, I can create a column here. So test column, Perfect. Okay, awesome. Now I have a solution here. And yeah, I just start creating a solution. Perfect, I have a solution. So then when we are creating these solutions, we have one thing that it's important to think about is to define these responsibilities. So who should be able to, or who should create these solutions? Should it be something that the business user will create, or this will be an IT that will create? This is something that the process will create. This is something that you need to figure out depending on how advanced your scenario is, right? So define who should be able to create solutions, thinking that you are able to automate this process. So if you want, you can automate this process to make sure that creating solutions is something that it's part of the DevOps process, right? Uh, who should ensure that the solution go through all environments? So who should push the button to say, okay, let's go from dev to production, from dev to test, from test to UAT, to UAT to production? You want it to be part of the process. So maybe part of the process will be to send an email to the users or for the owner of this application to say it's approved, you can go to production. It's something that the solution architect will do, something that the project manager will do. This is something that you need to decide, right? And also who should validate it and ensure quality, because you are moving things from dev test, UAT, maybe you can find some things and you need to go back. These kind of things, you need to define these responsibilities before implementing your process, right? Unit tests and integration tests depends on your process as well. Use managed and unmanaged solution. This is an important topic. Here in my environment, and we don't have a right and wrong, right, on these things. But basically, in my environment, I have a dev environment where my solution is unmanaged, which means that I can change it from here. But in my production environment, when I move the solution from here to there, I don't want no one to change things directly there. So I want it to be managed. So this is one other thing that the process can make sure that we don't move things that are managed to production if we don't want to, because we don't want people to change things directly in production, right? So this is an important topic as well. So if you see my other solution that I have here, this demo solution ASPC, this is unmanaged. But if I go to my production environment, I can show you that I have already this demo solution ASPC here because I ran the automation, but here is managed. So I can't change anything from here, right? So this is a good thing to think about it. So this is something that you need to decide. I have an advanced scenario that I've worked with my colleagues that we had multiple environments. So we had dev, we had build, we had test, and we had production. And all of them were more like managed solution because we didn't want them to change anywhere. We create one solution per package that we need to work with. So I need to work with something. I create a solution for it. I work on this solution specifically. Then I merge this solution to an original solution where it is managed as well. So I'm making sure that the process is ensuring the quality because I'm not able to change things directly in the original or the source solution, let's say. So this is something that you need to consider and to think when you are developing things, right? Perfect. So yeah, so let's go then to the Azure DevOps now. So I have here two places that I need to do. One is here that I need to open DevOps. I have open already. So when we are creating pipelines, I have two pipelines of with examples here that I can show you, and we can create one from scratch. One is using the Power Platform build tools, the ALM build tools from Microsoft, and one is using the Whale Helmsy tools. This is a pretty simple pipeline. This pipeline will just get one thing from one environment and moving to the other. So I have these three actions when we have this pipeline. So this pipeline is just exporting a solution from somewhere and importing a solution somewhere. That's it. I'm just automating the first thing that we have. So we have the manual process. The manual process is someone goes to the solution, export, download the zip file, go to the other environment, upload the zip file, and click to update or upgrade depending on your scenario. So instead of doing it, we want it to be automatic. So for that, we have some tools. And this is the first example. And why I used the Power Platform build tools and also the Whale Helmsy build tools, because we have some differences between them. They do the same thing, but sometimes Microsoft ones, it's not that good or that fast as supposed to. So I used sometimes the Whale Helmsy one because I think it's faster. One important thing when we are creating these things, we have a lot of tools, so I can show you here. If I start typing Power Platform, I can see all of the tools that are available for me. So we have all of these tools that were created by Microsoft. So I can create an environment, copy an environment, I can import a solution, I can change the solution version, I can deploy a package, run the Power Platform checker. So if someone do some changes in the Power Apps, Canvas app, or Power Automate, we can use the Power Platform checker to check if something is wrong. We can restore environment, reset environment. So we have a bunch of tasks that are already there for us. So I don't need to be like concerned about how to do things. I just need to use the right tool for it. And we also have the Power DevOps, that is the Whale Helmsy ones. So we have these Power DevOps tools. So if you do like import, let's say solution, we can see here, this one is the Power DevOps, is the one from Whale Helmsy. And this is more because he's, if I'm not mistaken, he's a dynamics guy. So he did a lot of things for dynamics. So if you have more advanced scenarios where you are not using just small things or simple things from Dataverse or from Power Apps and flows, if you're using plugins and things, web resources, things like that, you have more advanced things. So you have some other things that you can use from him, right? So this is a good way to do it. So in this example that I will do is just to have a simple pipeline that gets a solution from one place to the other. So I'll just start running this so we can have it running. So here I can see the demo solution at SPC. We have a testing table. I will just create another table in this other solution in my dev environment, and I will run, and we will create one from scratch, right? So I will just create a new table, test 01. Let's wait for a bit. Okay, so the table is here. So then I will go here and then I'll queue this pipeline with the Power Platform solution. So let's wait a bit. And while it's running, we will create one from scratch. So when you are creating a pipeline, now we have the YAML files that you can use. This is a pretty good thing if you are templating your pipelines, but let's use the classic editor just because it's easier or faster. I have a repository. If you want, you can use also the repositories to handle the files. So if I download the solution, I can store the solution inside the repositories and things like that. In this example, I will not use it. It will be a pretty simple one. So I can click on continue. I can just create an empty job. And then I can start adding some actions. So if I will use the Power Platform tool, I need to use the installer, and later on I can do the import or the export first, right? And the import. And the important part of it, because it's just tests, right? It's not complicated at all. But one important thing is that you need to think about security, how you wanted to handle it. If you wanted to handle by using username and password, or if you want to use service principal or client ID and client secret. One doesn't support MFA. This is important. Username and password doesn't support MFA. And if you want to support MFA, and also because this is more best practice, you can use the service principal and client. Okay. So just to show you how you can do it, we can go to Azure. And I can go also to these service connections. And on Azure, I can go to this is, let me see in English how it is. Let me open the other environment. Sometimes I just don't remember how it is, so I can show you better. So we can have the app registration. So we can have an app. So I can have in here an app that has a permission to impersonate the access to Dynamic CRM. This is the connector that uses Dataverse. So if I have this permission, I can use the app client ID and client secret to connect to the environment. So instead of using username and password, I can use this client ID and secret to make sure that I can have access. So instead of doing something on behalf of Douglas, I'm doing something on behalf of this application. So this is something that you need to consider, and it's something that was in our notes here. So define and secure your process. You need to create an Azure AD app and assign the permissions. You need to give the permissions like this. You add permission, go to Dynamic CRM, impersonation, and then you give this access. And also you need to do a permission for this application into the Azure. So we make sure that this application has access to write inside the solutions and things like that in that specific environment. So this is one thing that you need to consider when we are talking about security and governance, because we are not doing things on behalf of users. We are just doing things on behalf of applications, right? So yeah, we can get this ID and secret. And then with the ID and secret here, you have these service connections, and I just wanted to share with you that we have two ways of doing it. We have this generic, and we have another one that is this Power Platform. This Power Platform one, it's more used when you are using the Power Platform build tools. And the generic one is when you are using different solutions or different tooling. So the Whale Hamzy one, we'll use the generic. So if I go to Power Platform and create next, I need to put the server URL, tenant ID, application secret. So it's easy like that. I just need to find out the information from the application. So if I go to the application, I can get the application ID, I can get the tenant ID, and the secret I can generate one. And we get this information and share and create this service connection. And once we have the service connection, we can just select which service connection I want to use. So I'm exporting from the dev environment. So I have a service connection that is connecting to the dev environment, another service connection that is connecting to the production environment. I can say which solution I'm using. So the new one that we just created, The name is demo SPC 01. So we can go here and do it like that. You can always create variables and make sure that the process is getting this solution name from a repository or something like that. So you don't need to do manual as I'm doing. How it is the solution output file. So it will be a zip file. This is an important thing. Should we export as managed when we are exporting from dev to production? Should we export as managed? So we lock the solution or not? So these kind of things, you have some configuration, and I can show you if we use the Whale Ramsey, we have some more configurations that we can put. So we can export managed and unmanaged. If you are exporting like this and you don't mark, it will be unmanaged. So this kind of thing you just need to figure out when you are selecting which tool you use, okay? So it's basically like that. So you just need to find out which configuration will fit more with your scenario. And then you can create more actions here. So in this example, I'm just using these tests because I'm just exporting a solution from one place and importing in another place. So if I go to the pipelines, let's see if the one run. It ran. So I can show you it's exporting. So exported the solution from one place. So from the demo dev Douglas 01 crm.dynamics.com and imported it in the other place that it's my environment called Romance Tech. So if I go to my production environment now, then I go back here, then I go demo solution ASPC. We have now the table test 01. See? So we moved the new version of the solution from dev to production, and the things that we had in that solution were moved across, right? So this is a pretty simple one, I know. We didn't have changed the version of the package. We didn't have a huge process, but I can show you quickly before we end up some of the solution. And sorry, I'm worst drawing. I'm just bad, but we can have a pretty huge or heavily used scenario or more advanced scenario where we have different branches where pro developers and citizen developers are working. When they finish their work, we merge into a dev branch in the DevOps. So we have first the tasks there. The tasks are connected to solutions. Once we worked in everything that we want to, we merge these solutions into one dev branch. And this is exported from dev, move it to test when it's ready. The people test, we export a managed solution, increase the version, and deploy to production. So this is a more advanced scenario where we have approval process, we have PowerShell scripts to change versioning, we have solutions that are getting the data from one place, saving the repository in the DevOps, and we can do a lot of things. So it depends on how advanced do you want to be, or you will be. These will be the tools that you want to use. So yeah, we don't have that much time. That's why I just put it this simple example here. But of course, we can discuss more advanced scenarios if you guys want later on. So yes, this is the demo that I had. I think I'll just leave some minutes so we can have some questions because I saw that we have something on the chat. Anyways, just to conclude my presentation itself, thank you for your time. I hope that this was good for you. And yeah, let me know if I can help with anything. And let's discuss this on social media. I think will be pretty good to have these kind of talks. So
Great,
do we have questions?
We had one person asked will you be able to share the URL of the page after. It was about 10 minutes ago when you're on a page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Perfect. And then,
I can share with you if
yeah,
to
you can
share with.
share it with me and I'll send it out to everybody with the recording.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
I'll try to put some more links there so you guys can have it. Yeah, and please feel free to reach me out so we can discuss more and talk more about these subjects.
Sounds great. Is Azure DevOps 2020 compatible for this type of pipelines?
You mean the server?
We'll see if they come back to me, but they only popped that one up recently.
Yeah, just to know if it's the server, but I think it is. To be honest, I've been working more with the online version of everything, but I think so. Some of the tools, especially the tools from Whale Hamzy, they are pretty much tools that were created by PowerShell scripts and batch scripts. So the tools were implemented inside the DevOps, but they are pretty much PowerShell. So we can get there from his repository if you want.
And that person just said yes, the on-prem version was their follow-up.
Yeah, so I have never tested that, to be honest with you, but I'm just thinking that since it's a PowerShell script, especially this Whale Hamzy, so I would tell you just look for this one. I would say that it should work. I don't know if the ALM Power Platform build tools from Microsoft it's done for on-prem, but it should be as well, I would say. Let me see.
Are you checking? Sorry.
No, just go on. I'm just opening, but I have this documentation here that we can share afterwards.
Perfect. Someone asked, can the Microsoft Power Platform build tools? Sorry, do the Microsoft Power Platform build tools only work for Power Apps?
No, it works for every solution that we have. So the logo is Power Apps, but it's pretty much for everything that works in the solutions. So if we have Power Automate as well, for example, or Power Virtual Agents that we have inside solutions, if we have inside solutions, we can work with. So it's just the logo that they used, the Power Apps one, but it works for the whole Power Platform.
Someone else said they're quite new to learning Azure DevOps, and will they find kind of incorporating Power Platform tools with Azure DevOps very difficult without having a very strong basis of Azure DevOps? Yeah, they will.
Yeah, I mean, we are using heavily the DevOps today, also for our processes. So our process is connected from project management to the delivery part, and it's working pretty fine. We had to customize a lot. So the more advanced scenario that I showed briefly is the one that we are using. So it's just a lot of YAML files with the templating things, and we kind of created a more generic one that handles all types of objects. So if I have a JavaScript that needs to go through environments, we have a specific template that do things like that. If we need to move data, we can do it, but it's more advanced. So we need to go forward with scripts, PowerShell scripts, and YAML and things like that. So if you are heavily using DevOps, you can do it. It's more customizable, but it also requires more development. If you are just doing some simple stuff as I showed, it's fine to use.
And then I suppose the last one is, a person asked, do you have like a really like the main solution or tool you recommend for starting off, or maybe like your favorite kind of the most go-to one, the most handy one? Do you have like a favorite one?
Yeah, my favorite one is to use DevOps with Whale Hamzy tools, because I think it's fast, it's good, and we have also the GitHub from him if I need to know what it is doing behind the scenes, because from Microsoft I don't have it. I would say start from there, creating some simple pipelines that just run these exchanging things from environments, and then you can start from there, because you need to think about the process. If you have the first thing, that is making sure that the manual process is not there anymore, just to export, import, and storing, versioning, things like that. If you have these things, I think you can elaborate more when you are growing on that. So I would say start with the DevOps with a simple solution using the Whale Hamzy tools.
Perfect. Well, that kind of wraps us up. So massive thank you from us for joining us today, Douglas, giving us your time. It was a great webinar, and I appreciate that you gave us the time today to deliver it, and thanks to all those who attended.
Thank you.
And then everyone else, have a great day, and thanks again to Douglas. We'll see you all next week for another webinar. Thank you.